Fair to say, yes, Republicans could be in trouble in November. Why? Because that Ohio race, no matter who wins, was way too close for a ruby red district. And, fact check, no, Hillary Clinton did not win that district. She won a big county that is partly in the district, but Trump won the district handily. And no, Obama didn't win the district either in 2012. Romney did. Those are the facts. So, this close of a race in that district that the GOP has held for almost the last 4 decades straight is significant. Now, that said, the Democrats who won last night and who did well were largely women and traditional Democrats, not the lefties that Bernie Sanders and acolyte Ocasio-Cortez backed. What does that mean? Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the New York congressional Democratic candidate, joins us now. Ms. Ocasio-Cortez, thank you for joining us on Primetime.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so let's talk about last night, and then let's discuss the way forward from there. Mixed results. You went 2 for 5 with the people you backed for congressional seats. How do you see that mixed result?
I feel really good about it because I think what we need to realize is that, I come from things as an organizer. I put my organizer hat on. So there are some races that we go in because they're winnable. There's some races we go in because it's really important to build power and to really kind of sway the issues. So I feel very confident. I think that even with the gubernatorial race, we are building our bench. We had a 33-year-old candidate that could have very well been the first Muslim governor in America.
El Sayed.
He cut his teeth on an amazing race. Yes, exactly. Abdul El Sayed, he cut his teeth on an amazing race. We got Rashida Tlaib, first Muslim woman ever in Congress. So I'm feeling really good, and I think that we've moved the needle forward in the fight for social and economic dignity in the United States.
So you have organizational issues, and then you're going to have substantive issues in terms of policy. Let's start with the organizational. Let me ask you something. Whom do you believe to be the head of the Democratic Party?
Well, I don't think that there's any one head. We are a collective. This is a movement. And I don't think parties are ever about one person, but they're about how the contributions that each one person gives to the party. So I think that there are really exciting folks in the party, certainly folks that I look forward to working with. And, I don't think that it's about there being a party being about one person.
I believe you. Although it is vague, and I also believe intentionally so. If you are to be successful in the general, we don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but if you win and you go to Congress, there will be a leader of your caucus. Her name is Nancy Pelosi. Do you recognize her as the leader for the House Democrats?
Of course. I think absolutely right now, she...
Go ahead, please.
She is the leader of Speaker, or rather Leader Pelosi. Hopefully, we'll see. She is the current leader of the party, and I think that the party absolutely does have its leadership in the House. We have our leadership in the Senate as well.
Would you back Pelosi for Speaker if you win and are in the House?
Well, I think, again, we don't want to get ahead of ourselves. As you mentioned, I got to win my race first, but we got to take a look at what's going on. We got to take a look at winning the House back in November. And then once the House is won, we have to make that decision from there. I think it's not about a referendum on any one person, but it needs to be a referendum on where we are at as a team, as a collective, as people who are interested in advancing the economic and social issues in America.
I see with candidates in your party that the Republicans are pressing them about where they stand with Pelosi. Now, you could say that's a red herring, it's a distraction, but they're doing it. And we saw one of your guys, Welder, who I had on the show, he didn't wind up winning, but he was pressed about Pelosi. And he did a little bit of a dance on it. I'm here, I'm not there, I won't vote with her all the time. What's that about?
I think it is like that red herring, where the more time we spent kind of debating any one individual person or figure is less time that we spend talking about Medicare for all, tuition-free public college, and a Green New Deal. So, I think that what we really need to do is have discipline on winning back the House. We need to spend a lot more time talking about the issues that Americans care about and the issues that are going to get more money in the average American's pocketbook and less money spent on totally expensive health care and education.
So you go from the organizational structure of who are our bosses to the substantive. Now, Emily's List, which you're very well aware of, they put out an organization that said, we want to promote women being in politics. They've done very well. And in fact, some of their candidates beat some of the candidates that you backed, and you went out and celebrated at least one of them and say, good for you for winning. Now, if you look at those and look beyond gender, we talk about getting ahead of ourselves. We should be focusing on gender very much, but they won. And if you look at why the women won, almost to a person, they were much closer to the center and the traditional Democratic views than what we're seeing with some of the other new crops, you included. Do you think that that is a reflection about how much change your party can take and how soon, that more of those candidates are winning because they're hewing more closely to traditional Democratic standards?
Well, I think you have to take a look at two things, where the American people are at and then also what wins campaigns. And it's no secret that while grassroots campaigns absolutely have their place and are very strong in voter turnout when they are able to turn out voters, money does win elections. And so when you have PAC groups that are able to pour in $500,000 to $1 million per race, that absolutely makes an impact. However, nothing changes the fact that the majority of Americans believe and approve of Medicare for all, single-payer health care. 74% of Democrats believe in Medicare for all. So I think that the electorate and the American people are very clear about what they value and what they want. But at the same time, we do live in an environment where money and unlimited money wins a lot of elections. And so when you have organizations that are able to, write a blank check, that absolutely has an impact in races. But I think what we do know is that we are winning really hearts and minds, and we are winning an American consensus on where we are going for our future.
There's that expression in journalism that the truth, that democracy dies in darkness. You need the light of truth. It dies in dark money also. If you could get dark money out, and you can't, because the Supreme Court was really clear on it, and I'll have to see if this court sees it any differently. I'm not sure that it would. Dark money, 100%, that is a nonpartisan issue. Then you get into the partisan issue of money, which is, man, do you want to spend a lot of my tax money on these proposals that you and Bernie and others have? Medicare for all, college tuition, maybe even housing, that the Green New Deal that you have, it is all very expensive, especially on the single-payer side, and that it gives people sticker shock. Even in Bernie's home state, they got sticker shock. They couldn't get it done in his state because of how expensive it is. And that was an 11% increase in taxes, 9 to 11%. Even that was too much for people. How do you pay? How do you sell it?
So first of all, the thing that we need to realize is people talk about the sticker shock of Medicare for all. They do not talk about the sticker shock of the cost of our existing system. In a Koch brothers funded study, if any study is going to try to be a little bit slanted, it would be one funded by the Koch brothers. It shows that Medicare for all is actually much cheaper than the current system that we pay right now. And let's not forget that the reason that the Supreme Court upheld the Affordable Care Act is because they ruled that each of these monthly payments that everyday Americans make is a tax. And so while it may not seem like we pay that tax on April 15th, we pay it every single month, or we do pay it tax season if we don't buy, these plans off of the exchange. So we're paying for this system. We Americans have the sticker shock of healthcare as it is. And what we're also not talking about is why aren't we incorporating the cost of all the funeral expenses of those who die because they can't afford access to healthcare? That is part of the cost of our system. Why don't we talk about the cost of reduced productivity because of people who need to go on disability, because of people who are not able to participate in our economy, because they're having issues like diabetes or they don't have access to the health care that they need. I think at the end of the day, we see that this is not a pipe dream. Every other developed nation in the world does this. Why can't America? And that is the question that we need to ask. We have done these things before. We write unlimited blank checks for war. We just wrote a $2 trillion check for that tax cut, the GOP tax cut, and nobody asked those folks how are they going to pay for it. So my question is, why is it that our pockets are only empty when it comes to education and health care for our kids? Why are our pockets only empty when we talk about 100% renewable energy that is going to save this planet and allow our children to thrive? We only have empty pockets when it comes to the morally right things to do. But when it comes to tax cuts for billionaires and when it comes to unlimited war, we seem to be able to invent that money very easily. And to me, it belies a lack of moral priorities that people have right now, especially the Republican Party.
Well, and that's why there are elections. They have consequences. You will make your argument, and we'll see if the people like it better than the other side, because there is a stark difference. And I make you another promise. This is a quick interview. We have a lot of time going forward before your race. You're invited back on. We'll go one issue at a time whenever you want.
Thank you so much. I'd love that.
Appreciate you taking the opportunity, and be well.
Of course. You as well.